We're going to review the complete the square technique, which is also known as taking a standard form equation to a vertex form equation. Sometimes in the classroom I'll call it the ABC form, and the vertex form I'll call the HK form. So let's get started. Back in Algebra 1, we practiced completing the square with typically two terms, where a was 1. Now in this problem, a is not 1. So let's go ahead and start setting it up so we would have a good setup. Let's factor out the 3. What I'm going to do first is factor the 3 out of the first two terms and then put the negative 7 out on its own. Let's do that. So let's factor out the 3. And we're going to go ahead and set up the complete the square term and subtract 7. Now you notice at this point I have not changed the equality at all. The right side is still equivalent. If I redistributed and rewrote it, I would get back to where I started. But to complete the square, we always took the b term when a was 1, and we're just going to consider ourselves working inside the parenthesis now. So a is 1. I take the 5/3 and I go here and I divide that by 2. That's all I have to do to complete the square. Now we know that's going to reduce to writing its simplified form as 5/6. We'll get to that in a second. So now I want to maintain what I call the equality. We've added something in. We've taken this amount here, put it in here, we multiplied it by 3, we added that in, we have to subtract that out. So we have to subtract out the exact same thing we put in. So at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and write this as 5/6. So that's the first step. Now, from here, we're going to go ahead and kind of work on two problems. We're going to rewrite this first half, and then we're going to combine in our work zone the second half to write it a little more simple. So I'm going to finish this off here, and this is going to be x plus 5/6 quantity squared, and I'm going to go into my work zone. So in my work zone, I'm going to take negative 7 minus 3 times 5/6 quantity squared. We're going to go ahead and see what that turns out to be. First, I'm going to take 3 times 25, and I'm going to put it over 6 times 6. Okay, that's what that is. So I can reduce the 3 and the 6, and there's a 2, and this amount is 25/12. So this expression is equivalent to 25/12. And I'm going to combine it with a negative 7. Now we notice that we got to have a common denominator, so I can make it over 12. 7 times 12 is 84, so I've got a minus 84 minus 25. And so these two terms combine to simplify to be minus 109/12. So I now finished my problem out, and I'm writing it minus 109/12. So if I've given a quadratic, 3x squared plus 5x minus 7, in ABC form. Now in HK form, it's this expression here, and I can now write the vertex is going to be at minus 5/6 and minus 109/12 for the y coordinate of the vertex. Now we could check our work a number of ways, and the suggestion would be is put this in your calculator in y1. Put this equation in y2 and graph it heavy. Watch the first graph appear, and you should overwrite the graph with the second graph. Now there is another way to do it. When we went ahead and we converted the ABC equation to the HK equation, we found that the vertex could be easily found at opposite b over 2a, comma, f of opposite b over 2a. And that is very important to remember that one. So that's an easy way to find the vertex of an ABC equation. So let's just go ahead and plug numbers in, and let's just check the negative 5/6 and see if that works out. So we're going to grab opposite b, which is negative 5, over 2a, which is 2 times 3, and there we have it, negative 5/6. Okay, and that checks. So let's do one more example. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take y is equal to 2x squared minus 3/5 x plus 2. And we're going to see what that looks like. So let's go ahead through our technique. The first thing is factor out the 2. So we go 2 x squared minus 3/5 all over 2 x, because remember this 2 comes from factoring out the 2, plus we're going to zoop something squared, and we're going to add 2. Next step is, let's go ahead and think about it. This is 3 over 10. 3 over 10 is what we have here, and remember, to complete the square we divide it by 2. So we know that's going to be 3/20. Okay, whatever we put in, we have to take out. So we're going to subtract 2 times 3/20 quantity squared. Okay, again, we're going to do some work in the work zone, and we're done completing the square. We now have 2 times. Now I made kind of one mistake here. I like to bring this equal sign inside with me here, because really the coefficient is b is going to be opposite of 3/5 all over 2. So if we keep this negative, we'll see how we just bring this term and we write negative 3/20 here. And then I'll put x, group it in squared. That's why I like to show the 3/20 here, okay? So it's a nice way to just come up with our answer. And we'll check the answer against the opposite b over 2a in a second. Let's go to our work zone. We have a positive 2 minus this amount. Well, question is, let's first attack what this is. And you notice this is going to be 9 over 20 times 20. So let's go ahead and write it. 2 times 9 over 20 times 20. And we notice we could reduce the 2 and the 20. This is 10, and that's going to be 9 over 200. So the question then is, how many 200ths do I have in 2? I have 400 of them. So I'm going to have 400 minus 9 all over 200, and that's equal to 391 over 200. So that's combined those terms, and I could just add 391 over 200, and that's done. So let's just check this term to see if it's okay. We know our vertex now is going to be at 3 over 20, 391 over 200. And I want to check opposite b over 2a. So let's check it. Opposite b is going to be opposite b, which is plus now 3/5 over 2 times a, which is 2. And this is going to be 3 over 20. And that checks. I'm going to assume the 391 divided by 200 is correct. And what I would do to be sure of that is I would go ahead and I could grab a calculator and plug in the numbers. I don't happen to have a graphing calculator here, but that doesn't matter. Let's just go ahead and plug it in here and see if I can figure out how to use this one. This is going to be 2 times quantity, 3 divided by 20. Okay, we're going to close the parenthesis. We're going to square that term. Then we're going to say minus, left parenthesis, 5 divided by 3. 3 divided by 5. Okay, times x, which was 3 divided by 20. 3 divided by 20. And then we're going to add 2. And we're going to hit enter. We get 1.955. So we're going to go ahead and see if that number is 1.955. Now I'm going to take 391 divided by 200. And yes, we did. We checked it with our calculator, so we know our answer is right. So hopefully these two examples have given you the idea of how to complete the square. Good luck.